And one thing that we love about stories outside of the big two are stories that can end without wanting to build this giant universe. It has a satisfying ending. And for us, it was like you you Minor Threats gave us that. And then it was a double-edged sword because now I was like, I want to live in this universe a little bit more. I want to see what happens to these characters.
Oh, we have good news for you. We got lots of good news for you.
It started as a Batman idea that I had about the Joker escaping and all the lower level criminals getting, the Bat family comes in like a ton of bricks. I kind of wanted to explore that. Jordan used the line at one point talking to our artist, the amazing Scott Hepburn. I want the city to have like 60 years of continuity have happened to it. It has endured 60 years of continuity. Well, monthly comics, they always like that state of grace. They like to go back to, here's the reset. So next month, everything is as it was. And then that also goes for a lot of these massive summer crossovers where they're like, after this, the world of Marvel will never be the same. And it always is. So like they're not going to mess with their IP.
Yeah. You could never tell they were there, and we kind of wanted to leave an imprint of like, no one's going to clean this up.
And even if it gets cleaned up, there's psychic damage left over. People act and think differently after a massive event like that.
That seems very realistic when you think of like a capitalistic society. It's just like we're just going to push through. We're not going to think about that anymore. We're just going, and we'll just develop on top of it.
Yeah.
There's a desire to have each book have a different flavor. Even the volumes between Minor Threats. We talked about the first volume having this Coen Brothers caper crime vibe, and then volume 2 is much more of a big, sprawling, sort of gangster epic.
So that kind of idea of kind of go through your juvenilia. Sometimes that's where your rawest and realest ideas come from.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like our artist Scott Hepburn kind of laid down the gauntlet where he started just adding people in the background that we were like, who's that?
I just started looking at everything in the background. This is a massive creative undertaking, but it's like not. It's all just fun. It feels fun.
And Scott has backstories for all these characters. So even when we were like, who's that? He's like, that shit eater. He had his wings ripped off by the Searcher. Like, he had figured it all out.
We don't have a formal Bible yet where we realized we got to put one together because we're getting questions from some of our other collaborators of what's the background of this, when would this person meet this person. So we're starting to go back through the issues and some of the visuals as to who's where and what their status is. But we have it in our heads. We just got to get it down on paper for other people.
But then every time you write a new issue, you start to feel like you're living in the world, and you find connective tissue between characters' histories and stuff, so you can pull on that.
Kyle Starks came to us with an amazing story, and we just ran with it. We sort of oversee it in terms of let's keep it within the vibe and the world, but I don't want to give Tim Seeley notes on stuff. I want to see what he writes.
Right.
Like, I don't want to guide Kyle Starks. So, we're there more for like, here's the world, keep it within the world.
You guys are essentially the Bible that just for them to touch base with.
We leave it up to the writer and artist. Like, we'll if you want to co-write with us, we'll co-write. If you want to take this and run with it, we'll guide it. Like, we just want to see you guys play in this universe. And, all we're always looking for is just a new perspective or a superhero story we've never seen and something fresh.
Oh, thanks, man.
I feel like people throw around the term like superhero fatigue, and it's just boring story fatigue. It was like, I've never seen the D-list blue-collar jobber's point of view of what it's like to be a supervillain. It's just exploring these worlds from different perspectives.
We read a lot of comics, and a not a big part of our experience, but a lot of our comics experiences, why don't they look at this part? They remade the movie Shaft back in the early aughts, the Sam Jackson one. So there's all this tension, but it's just treated as a throwaway story. And you're like, that is such a better movie inside this boring bog standard cop movie that I've seen a million times. And they they visit that story a couple times. You're like, there's a better movie sitting right here that that we don't get to watch. As an audience, we don't get to watch it. And it's very frustrating.
Yeah. I think it's less about the characters.
You can feel the machinery of like, it's been 45 minutes and we have to we got to ramp up to the final shootout in the warehouse because that's what people like.
We've seen so many Batman versus Joker stories where he takes the whole town hostage. You know, we break the whole story together. And, you know, we like to kind of blue sky together. Every once in a while, we'll pass scenes back and forth or split up and divide and conquer if we need to. But it's usually or go off and each do a pass.
We definitely wanted to find something to do with Barfly, with Shit Eater. We just didn't know what it was going to be. And Kyle brought us such an amazing and genuinely heartfelt story.
We refer to it as like a coming-of-age henchman story, right?
And Sam, you got any questions, man, that you picking your brain over there?
What I like, you know, I don't want to collect 60 years worth of fiction to understand what's going on with the character.
I used to be a big collector when I was younger of action figures and, you know, tchotchkes and stuff like that. But then I was like, I'd rather be creating the stuff that other people are collecting.
I thought I was out of the toy collecting game, and then I had 2 sons, and I'm back in. Hard.
Keep my fingers crossed that it doesn't get broken, so eventually it can move to my shelf. It's like, all right, you're done with this, so I'll just move it over here for me.
MODOK came about. I was working on American Dad, and there was an exec I had worked with, and he started working at Marvel, and brought a few characters to us.
MODOK in the series, I know it's been a while since it's been out, but it has the same sort of vibe as like, not just another superhero story or not just like a slapstick comedy. It has a lot of heart to it, and it feels like an original story.
He hates the other villains as much as he hates the heroes for not giving him his flowers. Well, obviously we were inspired by Astro City. We try not to write with a franchise in mind. We put everything on the table for each story. A genuine variety of viewpoints and characters. They let each person be their own thing.